The Source Code Ceremony. The Source Ceremony reconnects 5 circuits that deliver the energetic nature of the source code that is directly related to the definition of source and self in the human psyche. The present scope of identity reference, beyond the limits of this dualistic mortal paradigm, have been manipulated via the modification of the human blueprint and the disconnection of circuitry vital to self and source realization. Because there is a chemistry to perception and belief, to fully grasp the way in which human consciousness is restricted and exploited, it helps to understand the various symbiotic systems that create the physiology and chemistry of the pre-modified sovereign state of the original human. This knowledge reveals how the manipulation of consciousness is perpetrated at a deep systemic level. Humanity was not simply intellectually duped into surrendering its core sovereignty to a power structure of supreme control. The inability to self-reference as an autonomously sustained system of consciousness is a consequence of genetic engineering. Everything is code. The reintroduction of electromagnetic data flow via the delivery system of circuitry distributes source code throughout the human holonom. This primal data is deciphered and utilized by the many fractally interactive co-creative systems, such as the endocrine and pranic system, the central nervous system, and the chakras. The extent to which the body's biocomputational ability is able to decipher this code, the more the endocrine system is able to integrate and utilize its energetic information. Data that enables it to expand its ability to function. The more that system is rejuvenated, the more it is capable of deciphering. It's an exponentially expanding cycle of restorative self-referencing reconstruction. The energetic nature of the code divides into streams that are resonant with the appropriate function of a variety of subsystems. Although each circuit is organ or system specific, they all co-function symbiotically. With the inclusion of the previous 3 codes offered on film and this 4th code, there will be a total of 25 reinstated circuits, 8 of which stream into the brain, 6 of which flow through the pineal. The volume of electromagnetic information delivered by circuitry regulates and amplifies the response of the brain's neural matrix to the complexity of external input. Expanding or contracting the bandwidth of cortical network receptivity and cognitive function. The more circuits feeding into the brain, the more coherence it distills, sublimates, and transmits into the field. The feedback of the internal experience and the perception of the immediate environment reflects the spectrum of code being deciphered. Due to the disconnection of circuitry, the present level of standard sentient awareness in this modified paradigm is set to the morphic field consensus established by the collective transmissions of billions of beings with marginalized brain function as we co-hallucinate this reality. When brain function is altered through an acceleration and integration of electromagnetic source code via reactivated circuitry, brain chemistry is adjusted endogenously. Because the adjustment is created by the self-governed biosystem, the bandwidth of cortical receptivity is self-regulated by the spectrum of your cognizance. The internal and external visual, audible, sensory feedback reflects the autonomy of your sovereign psychosensory process. The global morphogenetic field that currently provides the common denominator for points of identity reference is constructed and continually reinforced by global belief systems fed into the collective psyche. Limited perspectives, convictions, judgments, interpretations, conclusions, and deductions that constrict the expansion of consciousness. This is the matrix that pushes back when you begin to integrate the information delivered through the reconnection of circuitry, when you strive to realize who you are. Clearing your field of inconsonant frequencies and integrating expanded spectrums of source code data deconstructs old suppressive ways of perceiving yourself and your reality. This recalibrates your identity reference to the true constant. States of heightened sentient sensitivity are realized. This is often accompanied by waves of raw self-cognizance that can be incredibly uncomfortable. However, once these circuits are reinstated, they remain a constant source of code data that is a referencing field for the infinite self. Integration of the code is dependent upon the will, the willingness to recognize and release that which inhibits the free flow of the sovereign self, the dominance of low-frequency identification that functions on dualistic stimulus-response patterns lessens as the authentic self emerges. It is critical to identify these aspects of the false self as originating from the mutations within your blueprint and the relentless manipulation of consciousness in this paradigm. It feels personal. It is personal, and yet there is no need to take it personally. New patterns of stimulus response based on authentic experiences will develop and evolve as you trust in yourself and your process. Awareness replaces untenable behavior with responses that are arrived at through autonomous insights. By realizing the nature of the predetermined limitations that control the range of your consciousness, you begin to identify the true nature of these limitations as being matrix constructs. This reality is a looping system of entropy based on fixed axioms of causality. It has been engineered by the manipulation of the higher physics of creation to form an adulterated paradigm in a deviant temporal zone. There are billions of neurons in your brain registering the scope of possible responsive experiences you could choose to have in this moment. However, these streams of electric impulses are fixated on the algorithmically predictive sensory signals that are deeply entrained in the neocortex. You predict your perceptions according to the scope of your options. Your options are dictated by the limitations of your consciousness. Your consciousness is limited by the spectrum of source code you can decipher. Source code is delivered via circuitry.